Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Alright, for today's live, I'm going to be talking about depression. What is depression? What does it look like? And how can we help? And what does it stem towards? Why do we get depression? My name is Desiree Shaw. I'm a psychotherapist. Part of Talking Therapies, I practice CBT and counselling, mainly CBT. Okay, so in the UK, 1 in 4 people will suffer with depression. Depression is becoming a very serious issue because it's showing up more and more amongst men and women. It was very common, very easy to see depression as being something that mainly affected women, mainly because a lot of men did not actually go to their doctors and seek help for depression. But men and women both suffer from depression, and it is now taken presidency as more and more people are showing signs of depression. And it can be very debilitating. It can stop you from work, it can stop you from enjoying your family, it can just stop you with your everyday living your life. So what is depression? I'm a CBT therapist, mainly focusing on REBT, Rationale Emotive Behaviour Therapy. And in REBT, depression is noted as an emotion, okay? And some people say, well, it's a state of mind. Yes, it is a state of mind. However, emotions are a state of mind. So if you feel anger, the emotion of anger, your mind will be in a state of anger. So if you feel depression, your mind will be in a state of depression. Okay, so yes, it's a state of mind. It is an emotion. Yeah. What is emotion about? Well, emotions basically are formed by your thinking. Okay, so when in a depressed state, it all starts with your thoughts. Your thoughts are what push your emotion and then drives your behaviour. And it can be noted as you could say to yourself, well, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Either which way, we always have a chicken and we always have an egg. So is it the thought or is it the emotion? A lot of the times emotions can propel the thoughts and thoughts can propel the emotion. They're hand in hand. Primarily in CBT, we look towards the thought creating the emotion. Okay, so this is the standpoint that I will be coming from today. So what is depression about? What does it mean when somebody has depression? Depression is it's about a real or a perceived loss or failure. Okay, so when it's about the past, okay, depression looks behind you, and it's always wondering what could have happened, how things could have been better, whatever the problem was, how things could have changed. Is it all my fault? Okay, so it's about the past. Depression is always about the past, and it's about, or it can actually be about a future possible loss or a future possible failure. Okay, so you can actually think, oh my God, I'm going to fail with whatever the circumstances may be that you're trying to look towards, and you may become depressed about that. Okay, but it's about loss and it's about failure. All right, and how depression is formed? It's formed by what is known as in REBT as unhealthy, irrational, negative thoughts. Okay, so we don't deal with good and bad, because good and bad is a place where if we stay in that good and bad place, we start labelling things and we can become more stressed about the fact that we might think something is bad. So where we come from is that it's healthy or unhealthy. Now, once we deal with things being healthy or unhealthy, we understand that something isn't good, something isn't bad. It's either good for us or not good for us. It's good for us or bad for us if you're better off thinking that way. It's like junk food. You won't eat it every single day. It's not actually going to help you with your body, but it's not, it's unhealthy. You would prefer to have healthy food, but you may not have healthy food every day. Now, this is how our thoughts work. Our thoughts are either unhealthy unhealthy negative or healthy negative. Okay, the negative isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay, just because something is negative doesn't mean it is bad. We have healthy emotions and unhealthy emotions. We have healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions. Okay, so depression is an unhealthy negative emotion. Now it does have with it a healthy counterpart, which is called sadness. Sadness is different in its characteristics to depression. So I will explain to you how. Okay, so depression is formed by an unhealthy, irrational thought. Now, if we have irrational thoughts, they govern us. Okay, sadness is formed by a healthy, rational thought. Okay, so you see the difference there. It's about real or perceived loss, all right, and failure, or failure. So what does it do to us? How do we see the signs of depression? Well, we have cognitive consequences, which basically means what you're thinking, okay? And our thoughts also have outcomes that come with it. So cognitive consequence would be the thoughts that you're having at the time of a particular experience of where you may be dealing with depression. Okay, and this is for anybody who may know anybody that they might think, okay, I think I have a family member who may be depressed. So I hope this helps. So with depression, you only see the negative aspects, everything that is bad, okay? Only see what is really bad. And in this case, things are so bad that they're worse than bad. They're awful. It's called awfulizing, where it's 100% bad, if not 150% bad. Okay, so depression takes it to the extreme. Now you'll notice that there are actually it's irrational to think that way. Okay, and when I say it's irrational to think that way, I am not negating anybody who does think that way, because this is a natural thing that we go through because we're human beings, and as human beings we are predisposed to unhealthy negative emotions and healthy negative emotions. It's a part of our makeup. It's how we deal with it, which is the main part of managing depression. So with depression, you'll add. So if you're thinking, if it's negative, what tends to happen, you're thinking of all the negative aspects of it, you add more negative things that have happened in the past to the basket. So imagine depression as being a rucksack that you are taking around with you, and you're walking around with it in the day, and throughout the day your thoughts are going, and each time you add something else to the rucksack, a nice heavy rock, not necessarily a nice heavy rock, but it's something heavy, and you put it in there and you start adding to the evidence that everything is really, really bad. Okay, and it's not necessarily true, but this is how we cope with it. And this is what depression is. We carry it around with us, and it weighs you down. Okay, so you'll add all the things that would be associated with proving that you're a failure, or proving that you've lost something, or proving that you can't receive something. Okay, there's a helplessness with depression. You can't find your way out. It's like sometimes it's been described as a black hole, as if you get inside and you just cannot get out. Okay, and the helplessness is a way of you can't stand it, you can't bear it, you can't bear the thought of getting past what you're going through, and it is the worst thing in the world. Okay, it's quite a big deal. All right, so you only see the pain. You only see the pain and the hole, and they call it the black hole. It's known as the black hole, which is also signifies hopelessness. Yeah. So depression, people who are dealing with depression are constantly in a state of feeling hopeless. Yeah. Depression, what happens with, so you've got the cognitive consequences, which are the thought process, and then you have what is known as the action tendencies. So if you know somebody who may be depressed, or maybe going through depression, or you're going through depression, these are the things just to look out for. This is how it looks, how it appears. Okay, it's a lot more than just feeling bad. Okay, it's a real deepness. It's called depression, like the deep depression, so it's a real deepness. So what happens with your action tendencies? These are the things that you might want to do. So some people may want to do things, and these are things that they actually do. They withdraw from any kind of help. Okay, so if you know anyone with depression, they'll be like, no, I'm all right, lock themselves in a room, don't want to come out. Yeah, that's what depression actually can do to a person. It can also make you have thoughts, suicidal thoughts or self-harming thoughts, and these thoughts are not necessarily acted on in depression. What they can be are basically, they can just be thoughts which you just have, are fleeting thoughts, but the person with depression doesn't necessarily act on them, but the thought just goes through their head. Instead, they might withdraw and hide in their bed. Oh, they might just not want to talk to anybody. Often signs of depression is if you the person's home, their living experience can be extremely chaotic. So it kind of details their mind, okay? Because depression is like lots and lots of thoughts, a snowball effect. You have one thought and the mother thought, and then it snowballs with all these other thoughts, okay? So normally you can tell if somebody's going through a depressed state by noticing if they are withdrawing, if they're locking themselves away, and if their home or their bedroom is a complete and utter mess. Okay, and I mean a real mess, not just an untidy mess. It's common that in a depressive state, people try to self-medicate or try to deal with their depression by overeating, over-drinking, substance abuse, trying to play the lottery, trying to do things to get themselves out of it, and in a desperate bid to clear themselves from the depression. It's like they're trying to climb out of that hole. So these are the action tendencies of depression. So if you know anybody that may have be dealing with depression, this is what they might be going through. How can depression be helped? Okay, now there's a stigma about taking antidepressants and dealing with depression by taking any form of pharmaceuticals. These can actually help. Okay, all right, and as a professional, I wouldn't say they're the worst thing in the world, but coupled with psychotherapy, or talking therapy, it can be really productive. You don't want to be on pills for the rest of your life, so what they can do is just help to just balance you so that you can actually deal with a CBT session or counselling. Okay, I recommend psychotherapy because it helps you talk things out. Okay, as opposed to regurgitating what the pain is or the suffering is or the loss is. When you've got somebody to help you actually direct you through it, it's almost like you're coming through the black hole and somebody is directing you out of it. Okay, and it's a friendly voice, it's someone that you trust. So I wouldn't knock antidepressants. Okay, it's normally best caught early. Alright, because when depression is left to fester, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's like an infection. It will just grow and grow and grow. So try and look out for those signs if it is you, or if it is somebody that you that you know. Okay, I particularly in communities of diverse culture, i.e. black communities, things like depression are stigmatized in a really negative way, and it's quite sad really, because this adds to the depression, it adds to the stress, it adds to the pain, and I think it's getting to a point where we have to accept that as a community we have gone through so much that it actually is quite understandable that depression would actually be a part of our suffering. It's not the end of the world, because we can deal with it and there is help for it. There is such a stigma about any form of mental health, and mental health is not, and we all have mental health. We either have it's either healthy mental health or unhealthy mental health, all right? So every single one of us has mental health, okay? But there's a stigma that it's a bad thing. Okay, if you have mental health, if you're dealing with mental health, and the truth is, it's a good thing to be dealing with mental health, because every day you are dealing with yourself. So every day you either leave your home in a healthy state or an unhealthy state. Okay, your mental health is always out interfacing with people. You're always having a feeling, you're always having an emotion. There's always something going on. So mental health is something that we go through. Unfortunately, it's stigmatized, and the only way to actually overcome these issues, now these issues do not disappear, all right? They don't just go away. we have to deal with them. It's like baking a cake. You don't just get the flour and the eggs and the oil and the butter and it magically just happens because you got it on the table. You've got to go through the process. Okay, so there is an actual process which supports you to actually maintain positive, and I won't even say the word positive, healthy mental health, because when we start dealing with the word positive, it lays too much of an emphasis on things that are negative, and I think there's a bit of a confusion there. So we're going to stay with healthy or unhealthy. So if you do feel that you are dealing with mental health and it is depression, which is not uncommon, these things are real, they are happening. 1 in every 4 people in the UK are dealing with depression. More men are coming forward with this, with having depression. It's a real thing, it is happening, and you can get help. If you want, there is a couple of questionnaires that you can fill in if you want to find out if you are dealing with depression or somebody you know is dealing with depression. You can visit my website, www.shoretherapy.co.uk. I think I'll attach it to this live, and if you do want a questionnaire, you want to find out or you want to help somebody close to you, I can email you the details of that. I can also email you toolkits on how to help yourself out of depression. Like I said, there is no magic pill for this, all right? It is a process, and it can most definitely be dealt with, all right? It's not the end of the world, okay? When we take on our frustration, which is known as low frustration tolerance in REBT, where we can't stand it and we awfulize things are more than 100% bad, and then we become rigid, and then we self-damn, because depression has a lot of self-damning, which means we're bad, we're talking about ourselves as being a really bad person. This is when we make it really, really stressful. I'm just going to leave you with a quote from Wendy Dryden. I'm not going to hold it up because I think it's going to show it backwards, which would be a bit weird. Wendy Dryden is, I don't know if you could call him a pioneer in REBT, CBT. And one of his quotes here, it says, basically, so who are you? You are a unique mixture of the good, the bad, and the average. Okay? This is a place of self-acceptance. When we get to a place of self-acceptance, we actually empower ourselves to be removed from disturbance. When we are removed from disturbance to do with our mental health, we are more able to deal with life. Life is something that happens every single day. Okay, depression can be a part of it. You can get help for that, and you can have a much better time in your life. If you're dealing with depression right now, it doesn't mean it's the end. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope I see you another time. Thank you. Bye bye.